one less council meeting I have to go between now and the end of the year. It was an interesting council meeting. I know y'all are going to want to talk about the charter amendment item, which amends the term of office for council members. We did not end the term limits. We're not. It's actually, I'm going to try to program myself because it's not the way we've been talking about it. But council voted to amend the term of office for council members and the mayor. I think it's a good government thing. I've always supported it. I think it was a terrible mistake to put it on beginning in January of 2016, just in the sense that I think it may be caught up in the mayoral politics, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and so there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. So I ended up voting to go along with it, even though I voted against having it start originally in 2016. Any questions on amending the term of office?
Yeah. Councilmember Nguyen said that the fact that it's an amendment, a charter amendment, will limit the capacity to bring.
Passes.
Huh? If it passes, okay.
Because I'm going to work. I will work as hard as I possibly can to you know. I'm going to be working as hard as I possibly can on the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance and fighting the repeal of that. I don't know who's going to go out and advocate for term limits.
Okay.
But it has to, only if it passes.
Okay.
It freezes charter amendments for 2 years.
Okay, and HERO does not affect that.
His allegation, or his contention, is that it would have been a much more important thing to put amendments to our revenue limitations before the voters. And I agree with him. It's very much more important, but it was a non-starter with council members. I quietly polled council members, and I mean, I couldn't even, I get within spitting distance of a positive vote, so there's no point in putting them through that.
Okay, but HERO will not affect that because it's an ordinance
It's
issue.
an ordinance. It's not a. Dave Wilson's, if it gets on the ballot, he says it's a charter amendment. We think it's a backdoor way to try to repeal an ordinance. So it possibly could, but that's being hashed out in court.
Are you concerned that this 2016 proposal that will now go to voters is going to invite some of the criticism that some of the council members sort of tried to head off, which is that this is self-serving?
People will say what they'll say. It doesn't impact me or 4 council members in any way. Council member, there are any number of issues that council members will have to address as they run for re-election, and so it's just part of they knew going in that it could easily become a campaign issue.
But would it be fair to say that that was sort of part of your preference for 2020 rather than 2016?
It's definitely part of my preference for 2020. By having it start in 2020, it just shuts down any allegation that it's for personal gain. And I think council members are sensitive to that charge, but again, I think it's a good government thing to do. I have always supported it, and the majority of us who are leaving office voted to do it, even though it doesn't benefit us. So you can't say that this was a self-serving act.
Is that the reason why you hesitated before you voted yes?
Yeah, I think it's going to make it harder to pass, but as I said, my public position is I personally believe that having a 4-year term instead of a 2-year term is better service to the public, and even what my political judgment is, it makes it much harder, but just it's the right thing. It's the right thing. I'm not going to vote against something I think is the right thing, even if it makes it politically more difficult.
Mayor Casey did a report 2 days ago on the Public Works Department overstating at times the number of large potholes being filled, in that multiple work orders would have been opened for a single pothole, and when that single pothole was filled, Public Works on paper was taking credit for multiple 3, 4, 5 jobs being done when in fact only one hole was patched. Public Works dismissed it as semantics. Does the public deserve an accurate account?
Well, I wouldn't dismiss it as semantics, but I'm gonna tell you, you're never gonna get an accurate count. We get, people call in, we generate work orders on that, and we send crews out. They go, they note the potholes that have been called in, but they also note these potholes over here, so they fill those too, and so the number goes up. Or they go out and they decide it needs a full panel replacement, and so they don't fill a single pothole. They put it over into the panel replacement queue. I don't look at that number. I mean, obviously, you want to, the only reason it's important is you track how much aggregate and binder that you have to buy for both the pothole machines and the work crews. What we look at is how fast do we respond to constituent requests. When I came in to office, the standard was that we tried to get out and fill a significant pothole within 48 hours. And unless there was some exigent circumstance, that has remained our standard. So what I look at is how fast do we respond to the citizens. There's just, you want to have as close a number as you possibly can, but it's never going to be an accurate, like 100% number because of the way potholes, because you don't go out and say, I'm going to fill this pothole and go back to the office and wait till the next work order comes in. You go out there and you may fill 5 potholes, or someone reported 5 potholes and you put down one patch.
Well, respectfully, how can you not have an accurate number? If you fill a hole, you should put it as one fill. And so I guess my question is, for weeks and weeks and weeks during this campaign, months now, the city's been saying one thing, and at times, and Deputy Director Dargan will admit that he misspoke on several occasions. Was the city inflating it to make it look as a better job than more productivity?
I don't see how it could make it look like a better job. We have a pothole problem. We have put every resource that we could available. I mean, the only way I could put more money into pothole repairs is to start shutting down general fund activities like cut back library hours and swimming pools. I mean, there's one pool of money. So yes, they interchangeably use refer to work orders and potholes filled as the same thing, and they're not the same thing. But it's not an issue that I get. I'm more concerned with the response to the citizens rather than do we count 5 potholes or 4 potholes or 3 potholes when we go out there, because of the nature of how we address potholes. Again, when we go out and we look, we either fill the potholes right away or we call in other guys and they come and do a broader patch or a broader repair.
Separately, this is from our Simon desk on Instagram. Rapper Paul Wall has talked about alleging the city is hassling his effort to hold a school supply drive this weekend in the 4th Ward, claiming that city's unduly making them get all sorts of permits that they haven't had to in the past. Your reaction?
Well, apparently this is the second one he's tried to do. We didn't know about the first one. And the difference is that this is being widely advertised and social media and flyers going around. It is a little tiny park in the middle of a residential area. There is no parking. I mean, almost literally true. There's no parking. It's a small space. They're going to have live music, live acts. And we said, if you're going to do that, this is not just like a backpack drive. This is a big public event. Let's do it in a way that makes it safe for everybody. It's not that we're hassling them or trying to shut them down. I think it's a great thing. In fact, we are suggesting to them that they move it to a larger park. And I said I'd be happy to pay their park fee out of my own pocket, but they just have to work with us because you can't invite, it's an issue that has happened and it's a public safety issue, and let's be frank about it. Social media has turned a lot of fun parties or activities into scary events because it's friend tell friend tell friend tell friend, and all these people show up who have no idea what the original event was, and you can't accommodate them. And that's a little bit of what we were afraid was going to happen here. So we hope that they'll continue to work with this. This is, I first heard about it last night. Somebody contacted me and and I looked at my Twitter feed coming in. I had no idea what was going on, but what we discovered today is that the Special Events Office had contacted them last Friday and just said, come in, fill out the forms that we use for larger, medium-sized to large special events, and let's see if we can work out something that works.
Mayor, city pension consultant Craig Mason's contract was ended last week. Is that retaliation for his opposition to the fire pension deal?
Craig Mason has worked for the city for a very long time, but so here's where we are. We have an existing, very expensive contract with an actuarial firm. I think it's called Secure Horizons, to do the actual analysis. There is no legislative session coming up, so there's no lobbying legislators. There's no plan, and he is also paid to attend meetings as the city's rep of the 3 pensions. We have been able to get zero traction from the inside. So I have eager volunteers who are willing to do that. All of the real analysis is done by Secure Horizons, and I don't need him to go testify, and if I needed to go testify, I can pay him to go testify. So it was a cost-saving arrangement.
So are you concerned, though, about the perception that it might be related to his stance on the deal?
Craig Mason has been going to pension meeting after pension meeting after pension meeting, the 3 pensions, sitting in that chair, fighting the good fight for a very long time. I appreciate his service. He's very knowledgeable, but it was just not cost effective to keep him on retainer when we didn't see a path forward. But I understand that there may be other groups who are interested in pension reform who will be picking up his contract very soon.
Do you know who?
I won't say, but I don't think Craig's going to have a problem.
Will he continue to serve on those 3 boards?
Well, that's going to be up to him. He would have to do it as a volunteer. And the position he fills is the one for the mayor. So if he keeps doing it, I'd love to have him keep doing it, but there are also other folks who are eager to get in, and not that I think that that's going to be an effective way to create change in the pension. Working from the inside, being one vote that gets outvoted month after month, it's got to wear on.
Mayor, we're approaching the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Can you kind of share your experience from that event and talk about how it has affected the city? And if you could start by saying your name and title, because this is for an audio postcard.
You want to write what else she says?
Let me edit this first. Okay. I'm Houston Mayor Anise Parker. And having so many former New Orleanians, former residents of South Louisiana in Houston has changed the city indelibly. But what has happened is that those who are still here are Houstonians now. They're in our schools, they're in our companies, in our neighborhoods, and they have become Houstonians, but they have brought that taste of New Orleans and the South Louisiana culture with them. We already had close ties, but now we're kissing cousins.
Well, is there anything that still the city can work on to should there be a similar event to be better prepared, or I don't know if you feel like the city could have been better prepared, but just anything you have learned from the event that you can use in the future.
The whole country learned a lot from Katrina. We learned a lot about levees. We learned a lot about how to conduct evacuations. We learned a lot about rescue and recovery after a major storm event. And we, in fact, used the lessons learned from Katrina in storms like Ike here, in terms of how we evacuated and moving people away from the coast and not allowing them to shelter in place, things like that. But because it was so long before those who had been evacuated could return, we also have, I think, learned as cities, as a nation, that you have to make allowances, depending on the extent of the damage, you have to make allowances for that short-term, immediate response, but also for permanent changes. What happens if they're never going to go back? And or it's going to be a year before people can go back, then you need to more quickly integrate them into the communities into which they've landed. So yeah, there have been lots of lessons.
That's it.
Thanks, Mayor.
Good job.